Hey, it's Martin from Cobbled Folk Revival, and today we're going to continue our series of videos about fire making. So last time we talked about using an open flame in the form of a match to ignite a fire, and today we're going to go a little bit more difficult, one step upward in difficulty, and we're going to use a ferro rod to make sparks, and we're going to use sparks to get our fire going. So I have a ferro rod here in my fire kit, and I'm going to talk about it for just a minute, and then we'll start lighting some things on fire because that's fun. So basically the way these work is they're called ferro rods because they contain a metal called ferrocerium and some other rare earth metals. I'm not a science teacher, I do bushcraft, so I'm not going to tell you all about it. But the way these work is you're going to actually scrape pieces of the ferro rod right off with some kind of striker. Usually when you buy these, they come with a striker that has like this 90-degree sharpened spine on it. You can also, a lot of people will file the back of their knife to be 90 degrees for scraping. You can use the back of a saw. You can use a sharp rock. You can use a piece of glass. It just has to be sharp enough and square enough to be good for scraping and to scrape those little pieces off the ferro rod. And so there are a couple main ways we can do this. One is to hold the ferro rod steady and move the striker away from you. And that's a fine way to do it. The other main way that you could use this is to hold the striker steady and pull the ferro rod back toward you. And I find it easier to get a little bit bigger sparks that way. I don't know how well it shows up on the video, but the sparks were bigger when I used that method. The other advantage, and I'll show you this here in a minute, is that if you pull the rod away from you, there's less of a chance that when you strike downward, you're going to strike right into your tinder that you're trying to light on fire and disturb it and scatter it everywhere. So I've got here a couple of different things that we're going to light on fire today. And the first one, and the one that you might want to start with if you've never messed with these before, is jute twine. I love this stuff. I carry it in just about every bag that I take to the woods with me. I like it for a couple reasons. Number one, it's a natural biodegradable material, so if I bind something together with jute twine, I don't feel bad about leaving it there. Sometimes I don't feel like taking apart whatever I've made, or if you accidentally leave some on the ground, what's the worst that's going to happen? Birds are going to use it for their nests. So I like this stuff, and one cool thing about it is that it takes a spark really readily. So I'm going to cut a few little pieces here, and then I'm going to show you how I kind of break this up for fire making. And what we're basically going to do is make a tinder bundle. If you watched my flint and steel video from the My Side of the Mountain series. This tinder bundle is not so different from the tinder bundle that we use for flint and steel fire. It's not so different from the tinder bundle that we'll use for friction fire.
Switch the camera angle to hopefully give you a really good view of what I'm doing here. So this jute twine has 3 strands, and what I'm going to do is just twist them the opposite way of how they're twisted together and separate them out. And then I'm going to pull that middle strand. And pull it out of there. Then I'm going to grab one of the other strands, and I'm just kind of lightly pinching to be able to pull that out. Okay? And now I've got the 3 strands separated out. Lay those aside. And we'll do the same thing with the other pieces that I cut. So twist it till it comes apart. Grab that middle strand. Grab another strand. Okay. Twist it. Pull out that middle strand. Sometimes they get a little jammed up. It's no big deal. We're taking these things apart anyway, so we don't really care if they get a little messed up. Okay. Last one here. Pinch with 2 fingers. Pull those strands apart. And again, some of them, they get kind of knots in them. The fibers get twisted together, kind of even amongst the strands. That's no big deal. So now we have the individual strands separated out, and what we're going to do is just kind of start pulling those. So pulling them side to side and teasing apart. You can see, I mean, these are really just tons of little thin fibers when you pull it apart. And so what we're doing is just getting those. So the easiest way to catch a spark, to get a fire going by catching a spark, is to have lots of surface area compared to the size of what you're catching the spark on. So, you know, this log is never going to catch with a spark, but something very thin and small will. And so this is going to be pretty good. So I've got my ferro rod, got my striker with the sharp edge, and let's just see. All right. So we have fire.